What's up, everyone? Welcome to Sports Bluff. Thanks for joining us. Make sure you subscribe to the show, like the episode. We appreciate that. We're going to do grades for AFC teams. Not every AFC team, but we're going to look at basically the playoff contenders and maybe one or two extra and discuss where we think they are as their season has progressed so far.
Do you remember in high school when grades used to come out, the teacher would walk down the rows and hand out the papers with the grades on them, and it would always be on a Friday, right before the weekend. It's like they set you up for it. It's like,
absolutely.
Okay, so I'm ready to get grounded when I get home. Thanks a lot.
All right, let's start with the Baltimore Ravens. I think for the Baltimore Ravens, this season has gone essentially best case scenario. They brought in new offensive coordinator, Todd Monken from Georgia. They finally brought in offensive weapons for Lamar Jackson, Zay Flowers, OBJ, after giving him the big contract. The question was, will Lamar perform up to that contract? Will he return to MVP form? Can they win the division? Can they be a legit Super Bowl contender? The answer to all of that is a resounding yes. Right now, they're 8-3. They're the 2 seed. They're atop the AFC North. They are cruising. They are absolutely cruising. They're right there within reach of the Chiefs. One slip up from Kansas City, and Baltimore can grab the 1 seed. The Mark Andrews injury is concerning, and that has been Baltimore's Achilles heel. They have injuries and they fall apart late in the season, but if they can stay healthy, this is great for the Baltimore Ravens. They get an A.
You know, I tend to agree with you. You can't really argue anything less than that, right? They are on a roll. Let's go to the Pittsburgh Steelers, Tristan. Mike Tomlin has this team a little all over the place. Somehow they're above 500, and it feels like a job interview where everybody else that interviewed for the position just wasn't qualified, so somehow you got the job. And this is kind of how the Steelers are rolling this year. They keep winning games somehow. Their offense looked abysmal. Matter of fact, today in the Sunday game, Week 11, but they're 7th seed, 3rd in the AFC North. They're 6-4. Somehow, again, they're managing to win certain games that you really have no business winning. I personally think the Steelers are a crap show, and at any given moment, one wheel can fall off and the whole wagon goes down in flames. So give me C+ for the Pittsburgh Steelers, just because they are above 500.
Yeah, Mike Tomlin finds a way to get wins for that team, and it frustrates you because it's like, oh, imagine what he could do if he had a decent offense. That's a topic for another day, though. I'm going to touch on another AFC North team, the Cleveland Browns. I'm going to give the Browns a B+, which is kind of crazy. Despite all of the chaos surrounding that organization and franchise, they're 7-3. They're the 5 seed. And if it wasn't for the Deshaun Watson injury, they would almost be a shoo-in for the playoffs. Kevin Stefanski's a good football coach. We know that. The defense is arguably the best in the league. I mean, they are shutting teams down. Sometimes they have games where they give up points. They let Baltimore hang 30 on them, but they found a way to win. Will they stay at a B+? I don't know, because with DTR coming in as quarterback, I obviously think they're going to fall off. I don't think the season has the promise that it did a couple weeks ago, but when this season started, we knew they had the talent, but I don't think any of us thought they'd actually be at 7-3 and in contention. And if any team has the Browns on their schedule, they're not looking forward to playing them. They're a physical, brutal football team to play. It's been a good season for them, and B+ is, I think, more than fair.
Just to be clear, DTR played at UCLA, Tristan, just so you remember that.
Don't forget, not Stanford.
Not Stanford. Let's move on to the Buffalo Bills. Doesn't bring me joy to admit that this team is no more than a C ranking in my grade book this year so far. They've had a lot of injuries on defense. They've had poor offensive performances. They've had really embarrassing losses to the Jets, to the Pats, to the Broncos. And, it's really been an embarrassing season for the Bills. As much as we talked them up in every other media company, I would assume sports broadcasting talked them up as if they were a Super Bowl contender, and right now they have essentially the same record as the Pittsburgh Steelers. And right now, I don't even think they're seeded, right? They're out. So
they are not in the playoffs.
So it looks really, really bleak for the Buffalo Bills right now. They fired Ken Dorsey to try to rejuvenate the offense. Today they played well and pretty much blew out the Jets. Don't trust it, guys. I'm a Bills fan. I've been a Bills fan for quite a while, and you just can't trust this right now. The Bills can look great one week and then have 2 losing weeks back-to-back. So A C is what they're getting from me because they are just not holding up their end of the bargain in this division for me.
Absolutely. The season for them has been a complete roller coaster ride. And at this point, you're really just waiting for the offseason and waiting for a regime change because it seems inevitable and necessary at this point. You touched on your team. Let me touch on mine. The Kansas City Chiefs. Some people would give them a lower grade, but I don't see how you could give them anything less than an A. I thought about an A+, but you'd have to be basically undefeated to get that, right? I'm giving the Chiefs an A. They're 7-2. They're the 1 seed. They're controlling their destiny. Smart money is on them to win the AFC. They are in position to do what they do every season. The knock against them is that the offense isn't as proficient. Oh, this version of the offense. Wait, what was different about the offense last season? Oh, they had Juju Smith-Schuster, and now we have Rashee Rice, who's actually better than Juju. So I don't know why everyone's freaking out. The answer is because we struggle to score in the red zone. Offensive scoring in the red zone has gone down, but when you have a top 3 defense, a defense that's only giving up 15 points a game, you don't have to score 38. It's the best defense of Mahomes' career. It's the first time he's been able to rely on a defense that dominant. It's a different Chiefs team, but just as effective, just as scary, and right now still in control of their destiny. So absolutely, they get an A.
They get an A, but they do play games quite close, and I wish you guys would work on that a little bit. And then also at the same time, teach us how to actually win games. Let's move on to the Miami Dolphins. They're going to get an A- for me. They would get an A+ if their offense was consistent. Kind of a similar problem that the Chiefs have. I think that the Dolphins have a very high-powered offense. Everybody knows that, right? But they aren't consistent. When they play good teams, like you say, Tristan, their offense struggles, and we've actually seen the defense step up lately. So the defense has been keeping them in games and playing a lot better midway through the season than they did early in this season. So I think the Dolphins deserve a well-rounded A-. I don't think that being first in the AFC East gets you anything less than an A-. You have to be up there, and when you're 7-3, you're doing pretty good for yourself. I'd like to see the offense, when they're getting pressured, keep Tua a little bit more stable and not, completely fall apart when defenses are actually really good. But if it wasn't for the Miami Dolphins defense stepping up the last couple of weeks, you could see that seven wins be a lot less. But right now, their last 3 games are the Cowboys, the Ravens, and the Bills. So we're really about to see, coming into the latter part of the season, what this Miami Dolphins team is actually made of. But A- right now, I think they'll finish top this AFC East and make it into the playoffs.
Yeah, well, definitely in the playoffs if they win the division. I predicted preseason they would win the division. I thought they would take a step up. Again, we got to see them beat some good football teams, some teams on par with them. They haven't been able to do it. We'll see if they can as the season progresses. The Jacksonville Jaguars, a team I was really high on, a team I predicted to be the 1 seed in the AFC and to go to the Super Bowl. I thought this would be Trevor's breakout season. I thought he would take another jump, him and Doug Peterson. It hasn't really happened that way. The Jaguars have been frustrating. I'm giving them a B+ because they're still good. They've got a 7-3 record. They're the 3 seed in the AFC. They're atop the AFC South, but Houston's coming, so watch out. It's similar to what you said with the Bills about them being inconsistent. You don't know what you're getting game to game. Even though the Jags have only lost 3 games, you don't know who's showing up. They got embarrassed by the 49ers. They lost to the Chiefs in a close one. They went on that stretch, won 5 or 6 in a row. I just am not in a position where I can trust the Jaguars to go in every week and execute. Sometimes they show up and they're sloppy. Sometimes they show up and they're flawless. I still like Doug Peterson a lot. I still like Trevor Lawrence, but he hasn't taken the leap I expected him to this year. It feels like the defense is carrying a little more of the weight. So B+ for them, still a good season, but just not at the level I expected it to be by week 11.
I feel like we're going to keep riding the roller coaster for the rest of the season with the Jacksonville Jaguars. Let's move on to the team I am most excited to talk about, and that's the Houston Texans. They're going to get an A+ from me. And if there's anything higher, on tests when you used to be able to get bonus points or a little 5 extra points, the teacher would draw a smiley face on the 100, that's what I'm giving.
In the 0, yeah.
Yeah, that's what I'm giving the Houston Texans. C.J. Stroud is a top 10 quarterback when nobody thought he had any business to be. They're overperforming every metric that was out there that they were supposed to hit this season. It was supposed to be a transitional year, Tristan, a transitional year. And right now, they are sitting as the 6th seed to go into the playoffs. They are currently second in the AFC South, and they are 6-4. Tell me why this team deserves anything less than an A+. They are performing better than any other team in their. If you look at how every team was supposed to perform preseason, this team
like expectation level
has well gone past any expectation anybody had for them. I'm so proud of this Texans team. I'm proud of DeMeco Ryan. I'm proud of C.J. Stroud. Every receiver on that team seems to be really, really good. Just kind of like the Bengals offensive lineup. It's just there's weapons everywhere. Singletary is having the best years he's ever had, and he's a veteran. And he's been in the league for a while, and the Texans somehow are making him a top rusher right now. So, and then the defense is also, a lot of people don't talk about the defense, but they're playing good enough to, win out. They could win a playoff game easily. I could see them going up against, a team like the Bills or the Steelers or something like that, and easily winning and advancing to the second round. This Texans team is doing really good. I would love to see him in a Super Bowl. I can't help it. If my team's out, this is the team I'm rooting for. I'm sorry. It'll just be good to see the Cinderella story actually happen.
Right. It is a Cinderella story. No chance they're going anywhere close to the Super Bowl. They're not sniffing it.
But wouldn't it be fun?
I think it would be so much fun. I think they're probably going to make the playoffs as long as they don't fall apart. It seems like, again, similar as you said with the Chiefs, again, it's the NFL. It's hard. They can't really just put away a team. Like against the Cardinals this week, they really struggled. 3 interceptions by Stroud, but what I love is they're able to overcome it. Even when they have faced adversity, they're overcoming it. They're executing. They have hit on all their draft picks, C.J. Stroud, Will Anderson, Tank Dell, Henry To'o. This is such a good football team, but it's a young football team. That worries me come playoff time. I think it's a great regular season story that's going to, sputter out, and then we'll readdress next year. But I have no problem with you giving them an A+ because we all expected they'd be picking top 5 next year, and they could win the AFC South. They're 1 game behind Jacksonville. I mean, it's all in front of them as the season progresses.